How is it going, guys? Malagant here. So I'm going to be talking about the patch notes a little bit here, but it's going to be a bit different actually. I just want to like give some opinions about various different things that I have like touched, and I want to give some like insight about things what I have been thinking after like talking to my friends as well through tonight. The patch just hit, and it's live on the servers right now, so you don't necessarily need the season to be launching yet, because this is like the base game update. So the base game is already updated, and I would suggest you to log to the character that you played the most, so that like your account gets the information when it comes to like the altars, and when it comes to the map exploration. You kind of need to do this one time, so you need to just like log into the character that you played the most. That said, so you can check the patch notes. The link to it is going to be in the description down below, and I would suggest you to at the very least read like what is new for your class. But we're not going to be talking about class. We're more going to be talking about a couple of base game changes. There are lots of like gameplay fixes, bug fixes, item level adjustments, which I already made a video about. It's good. It's late, but it's definitely required change. There are lots of content creators that also like already covered that also a couple days ago even. So, but what did I want to talk about mostly? Let me see here, guys, apart from like these fixed issues. So there's a loading screen update. That's pretty interesting. It says we have added more dynamic loading screens with the release of the season. This includes adding more assets to the loading screen, such as like your character. Pretty cool, I think. Actually, I really like stuff like this. So gameplay updates. The Altar of Lilith and the map discovery is now account-wide, but as I said, you need to like log into those characters, guys, just one time, because it's like it's not really capable of like looking behind. Now is the new mechanic is in the game, so like you need to log to that character once to be able to like have it on the accounts widespread. Whispers will no longer reward Sigil of Dust, and this is very interesting because Whispers have been buffed when it comes to the experience that you can get from this, especially in World Tier 3 and 4, I want to say. So they're like pretty legit when it comes to like experience farming for late game. Overall loot quality has been significantly improved from the silent chests. The silent chests are the ones that like you require these like keys to open all around the world, with like the keys that you buy from your obols. I think they cost like 20 obols if I'm not mistaken. That have been just rewarding, occasional legendaries, most of the time some rare items. I was definitely buying like lots of keys and running around, but I wasn't necessarily like farming these chests like ever. And I don't necessarily know like where they exactly spawn so much either, except like 1 or 2 spots. But now, who knows what significant means? Maybe they're going to be offering at least a legendary item now, which is definitely a good change. Channel time for leaving the dungeon has been increased from 3 to 5 seconds, so you channel more, the cast time is longer. We have generally reduced the tendency for mini monsters to move around in combat, so they're kiting a lot less, so the melee characters don't have to chase down the enemies much. There's a DualSense Edge wireless controller support for the PC as well, and now renown value adjustments. So the side quests are like rewarding more renown. The dungeon rewards are also more when it comes to renown. This change is retroactive, and the additional renown gain will be applied to the characters who have already completed the side quests and dungeons. So I would like you to check this out. World Tier 2 has had the following bonuses. It's actually dropping more loot now. This is very interesting, because I would like you to consider the fact that like even World Tier 3 and 4 doesn't really have this effects. It's quite weird actually. World Tier 2 has like more items dropping, but then you go back to World Tier 3, you're obviously like getting higher item level, but you're dropping less items. So I've just made a video about like talking which world tier you would prefer to like level, and I was basically in short saying that like you would rather try to stay strong and play in world tier 2. There's no shame in like reducing it to world tier 1 if you feel like you need to go faster than you are and it's pretty challenging right now. That's when you go back to like adventure mode to tier 1, but you would like to stay in world tier 2. Now this gives a little bit more reason, all the more reason I should say, to stay in world tier 2. You have to be staying, you have to be trying to stay more relevant and strong against the enemies. But we didn't necessarily come to the point that I actually wanted to make this video about. So bear with me here. And there's a little bit more to talk about that in that topic. So the level scaling inside the dungeons, and this is very, very weird. I want you to like, read this carefully. Level scaling inside the dungeons in most overworld territories has been adjusted. In the tier 3 and 4, monsters will begin to trail behind the player. So they will be lower level than us after a certain point, up to a maximum of 5 levels behind. This change does not affect the world bosses. It doesn't affect the Legion events, the Fields of Hatred, the PvP place, the Helltide, or the Nightmare dungeons. So anything like normal dungeons in World Tier 3 and 4, when we are level 60 and above, they're always going to be 5 levels below us in World Tier 3. As you can see it over here, when you're level 60, they'll be level 55. In this game, I just asked a friend of mine, Trend, and he said like every level below you is 10% penalty for experience gain. So this essentially means that like doing dungeons and doing world killing, just like killing stuff in the world, is going to be much less rewarding than before. Like incredibly less rewarding. It's not only because they're not only lower level than you all the time now, which is like a massive experience loss penalty. So like doing normal dungeons is almost like almost no point. It's absolutely insane. So you would rather like you would want to complete like your renown stuff before getting to World Tier 3, because like now you're being punished, but I mean your time is not going to be as rewarded as before. Another thing about this is that like now they have also like changed the experience about this. Like the World Tier 4 is going to be the same, but only from level 80. So like World Tier 4's lowest level is like 75 for the monsters. So like after level 80, anything that is out in the world that is like in normal zones and like normal dungeons, they're going to be always, 5 levels below you. So very, very harsh experience penalty here to those mobs. So you really want to be doing Helltide, you really want to be doing, like Nightmare dungeons, obviously, or this also gives a little bit more value towards that like weird Legion event, or like PvP feels is pretty interesting as well in that case. Definitely, maybe you would want to like farm the PvP a little bit. I don't know, I'm not really sure. I'm gonna need to check it out, but this is very, to be honest with you, this is the most questionable change in these patch notes for me, because like this developer's note is kind of giving an insight to why they're doing this. They have taken a lot of feedback when it comes to how the world is scaling with you, and even though as you're leveling up you should be feeling stronger, you're feeling weaker, and that is like the worst feeling ever in a ARPG, or like in an RPG where like you're leveling up, right? Like you should be feeling stronger. The feedback from the community is that like since the world is scaling with you, you become irrelevant, and you're kind of feeling like even though I gained the level, they gained the level as well, and now they're stronger. So like, and my items are worse compared to my level, so like it's harder for me. So this is very legit concern. This is like a massive topic that I can talk about for a very long time, guys, on like another video. I think overall for like an MMO type of game like Diablo 4 is trying to offer, especially when it comes to like plug and play with like several different people, and especially when it comes to like regardless the level. So what I mean by that is like you're level 80, but there's a friend that is starting the game recently. You can now group up and play the same content, even though there's like a massive level difference. So some sort of like that when it comes to like scaling monsters, it's pretty good. It's in my opinion a good thing. But like overall, from the bigger picture, especially from like solo point of view, that sense of like progression is not being there, or like you getting weaker as you level up is a really weird feeling. So they say over here, we want to give the players a better sense of their power progression and mastery over the world while still challenging themselves with structured endgame activities. So they want these structured endgame activities over here, right? These things to be relevant, while the other stuff becoming irrelevant while we are leveling up. So in that sense, it's kind of like makes sense since they're always going to be five levels below us. They're obviously going to be a lot weaker, and we'll be able to like face all this content. But the rest of the content is going to be, as difficult. And now they will also be a little bit more mandatory if you want to like care about, experience per hour per se. You know what I mean? If you want to like min max it a little bit to like what you're actually getting from the world, right? This type of touch doesn't necessarily change the amount of loot you get from them, though, at the very least. Reward experience for completing the whispers in the world tiers 3 and 4 has been significantly increased. And this is, as Trent said to me tonight, it's about like 5 times as much. He has actually gotten almost 1 million experience from completing a whisper. That is nuts. Definitely. That's insane. So I'm going to need to like make some testing when it comes to like late game for this. And maybe the problem over there is the fact that like whispers, they're like selecting a region, and then they're telling you to like do this event, do this dungeon, and then like do this yada yada. Like there are some like special events spawning for the whispers as well, right? So, or like just kill monsters and collect some like stupid stuff around and then like bring them back. But now, like, even though you're getting more experience from this, like this, because of this change over here, it just became like really weird again. Like, you do want to do the whispers, okay, but you don't really want to like run a normal dungeon anymore. You really don't, guys. Like, you don't want to go to a dungeon that is 5 levels below you. That means 50% less experience than you would have gotten normally by killing monsters. So like even if this experience over here is insane, the feeling of like killing 5 levels lower monsters all the time is going to be really awkward, I think. Another thing that I didn't really like think about is the loot, right? So I don't necessarily know right off the top of my head if like 5 levels below you is going to be being punishing for loot as well. I'm gonna need to like talk about this on stream maybe, and like try to come up like if it is or not. Look, there's another experience change over here. They have been really messing around with the experience as far as I can tell. This is really weird as well, but it's not as questionable as this one over here. This makes much more sense to me, to be honest with you. Maybe these numbers could have been higher, but we'll see. So let's read. We're adjusting the bonus experience rewards for killing monsters that are higher level than the player. So as if you have been following my channel the past couple of days, especially, I've been practicing a lot of leveling. And one of the biggest things that you had to be taking care of or considering while leveling was to kill things that are 3 levels higher than you, because it was like right off the bat 25% more experience. That was just absolutely insane. So you were always trying to like target stuff like 3 levels ahead of you, and the thresholds or like the points where you had to like consider to go into a new dungeon or like to a new stronghold was always like when you're 3 levels below them. Now there's no such thing anymore. The patch has completely changed this, and now it is working 1.5% per level up to 10 levels. And let me tell you, like, you can easily kill 10 levels above you when you are like around level 80, level maybe even 70. But when you're on like level 10, killing a level 20 is almost no go, honestly, like unless you're in a group or something, and it will never be worth it. And even then, yesterday we were getting 25% extra for killing only 3 levels ahead of us. Now we're going to be getting 15% extra for 10 levels ahead of us. If you're killing like 3 levels ahead of you, that's going to be 4.5% experience increase in opposed to 25%. That's a ridiculous nerf to trying to do harder content at any point of the game. So this being said, now in the earlier game you kind of want to be killing monsters that are at your level. Most of the time they're going to be trying to stay at your level anyways. Like most of the time they won't be becoming irrelevant on world tier 1 and tier 2 at all, as far as I know. Maybe there are like some special cases that I don't necessarily remember right now, but I think most of the time they will be at your level. if not higher. That, at the very early game, there are like certain thresholds that you need to reach before like unlocking regions or like going into new dungeons or strongholds. There are strongholds starting from level 35, 40, etc. So you will want to be starting these zones instead of like, if it was 35 instead of 32, now you want to be going there at exactly their level, I suppose. There's no point like going earlier. Absolutely no point. You're just like slowing yourself down. Another thing over here, we're also adjusting the experience rewards from monster level offsets for higher world tiers. This is, in my opinion, it is something good for this game. Like for Diablo 3, it wouldn't have been good. But I think for this game, I think it's going to be, for the long run, it's going to be good. So the current world tier level offsets is world tier 2 up to 3, world tier 3 up to 10, and world tier 4 was up to 100. This was very weird right now. So world tier 2 is going to be the same. So it will be 3 again. The 3 is going to be up to 6. But world tier 4 is the biggest difference here. It's actually going to be plus 10 here. So what does this mean, right? Like, it can be a little bit confusing what this is. So, for example, you're level 1 and your friend brings you to world tier 4, okay? And leave you at the entrance of a dungeon. So exactly boosting, right? There's massive boosting going on in this game, or used to be. They start killing level 100 monsters. Before this seasonal patch, before today's patch basically, you used to get level 100 monsters XP. You're level 1, but you were getting level 100 monsters experience, and then you were also getting 25% more experience because they were 3 levels higher at the very least, right? But now, this offset is capping it to plus 10 levels higher than you at most. So even if you're like level 50, let's say, at world tier 4, if somebody will want to boost you and they are level 100, so the mobs are going to be 100 in their dungeon, the mobs that are going to be dying will be giving you level 60 experience because you're 50. So the 10 higher is the offset, basically, the maximum that you can get experience from. So if you're level 1 in that world tier 4 dungeon, you will be getting level 11 monster experience. And then also, this is nerfed as well, as you can see, 15% from here, because right over here, it is 15% now, since they're higher. So is boosting completely nerfed? Probably not completely nerfed, I would say, but it's drastically slowed down to the point like where you're going to need to ask for a lot of gold for it, or because it's going to be much more time consuming, obviously, much more time consuming, or otherwise, it's going to be much more of a slower progress where you're going to be playing with your friends and they're going to be leveling up much slower than otherwise. So they will be taking much more time to get to those levels. To be perfectly honest with you, like at the very least, it's kind of a good thing for the game, I think, overall, because like, for instance, like I solo level a lot, and then there's always a question at the back of my mind, like, why am I not asking from a friend of mine to just boost me for 30 minutes to level 50, and then I'll have a level 50 character instead of doing this in like 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever, even if I try hard, which is also pretty tiring, to be honest with you. So I think overall for the game itself, for Diablo 3, perhaps like it was okay, but for Diablo 4, I think for the game's health in the long run especially, it's a good change. It's a very, very good change. Helltide, there's some like interesting changes on the Helltide as well, and let me tell you, Helltide is absolutely my favorite open world event right now in the game. So the mystery chests are costing 250 cinders instead of 175, so it will be a little bit harder to get to them, especially in the early games, so like world tier 3, where like your character is like level 65 or whatever. It will be harder to open every single mystery chest right off the bat, hands down. That being said though, for like late game, I believe like it's very, very strong character, and like somebody that's piloting the character that knows what they're doing, they're going to be able to open every single mystery chest. Once again, 250 is not impossible to open every single chest. Perhaps like I think there's a region that's capable of like giving you 6 mystery boxes. Maybe that one's like very difficult to open all of them now, but like you should be able to open 4, I would say, quite easily within the hour. Helltide monsters are now 3 levels higher than instead of 2, which is, not too bad, decent. A little bit more experience, I suppose. It's a bit more challenge for you. All interactable objects in the Helltide zones now have a small chance of dropping cinders as well. So like every single interactable thing, like the barrels, the vases, stuff that you can break, small bags or like chests, I suppose, and like also probably herbs and ores, everything are going to be having some sort of like cinder drop rate. So you'll be able to like, interact it a bit more. As our community continues to battle the burning hells, the builds emerging from new players have shocked and delighted us. We have chosen the focus of Malignant's balance updates on clear itemization disparities over redesigns of class features. So there are no redesigns. The class changes are largely focused on numeric increases to skill upgrades and legendary aspects that players haven't found compelling. Additionally, we are changing critical strike damage paragon glyphs to empower all damage instead of only core skills to enable more build strategies. This is a very, very good approach. Kudos to them. There are also a few class stats decreases on sources which grant extreme amounts of damage, healing, or unstoppable. In general, we prefer build-specific changes to be bonuses instead of decreases, but we feel these changes are necessary for the overall health of the game. Diablo 4 is a game that is continually evolving through the seasons, thus the adjustments we make will evolve with them. We're not going to be reading, but I would heavily recommend you to check out, at the very least, read it just once, whichever class you're playing. As I said, the link is going to be down below, guys. So, for the most part, I've talked about like, what I wanted to talk about in the video, but let's just like read tiny little bit for the rest of the video about like what are the changes, because there's still some like interesting things I know. So for instance, like the aspect of disobedience, the armor stacking, heavily nerfed, guys. Absolutely destroyed. Like instead of 50%, it's 30% now. That's insane. I don't really know these too much. Drop rate adjustments. Okay, look at these general stuff. Increase bonus dropped sacred and ancestral items in nightmare dungeons from 5 to 10. So doubling the chance or the boost to ancestral and sacred items in nightmare. Remove the 20% chance to drop extra equipment from elite monsters outside Nightmare Dungeons and Helltide. So Helltide and Nightmare Dungeons stays exactly the same rewards, right? But anything else gets crazy nerfed when it comes to dropping an extra item, okay? So sometimes you were seeing like an extra item drop, like 2 items instead of 1. Now you'll see it a lot less. Or maybe it's not even possible anymore. Maybe. Increased chance to drop an extra equipment from elite monsters in Nightmare Dungeons and Helltide by 10%. So now this is 30% chance, if I am understanding this correctly. 30% chance of the time in Helltide and Nightmare Dungeons, we're going to be getting an extra item drop from our kills. Nightmare Dungeons now have 50% chance to drop a secondary legendary upon completion. Before the patch, this was dropping 1 legendary and 1 yellow item. Now it's going to be dropping 3 yellows and 50% chance to have an additional. So as you can see, they want the Nightmare Dungeons to be the go-to thing, basically. I would also like to say that like they have changed the Nightmare Dungeon set completely. What I mean by that is I think there was like 30 Nightmare Dungeons available, guys. And there are like 120 dungeons or something in the game. So, 90 dungeons were like missing the Nightmare versions. Now the 30 ones that were available are completely scrapped, and you have like a new 30 set. I'm making the number 30 up, but let's say it's 25, let's say it's 40, you get the idea. Like there's like a new season of Nightmare dungeons available for this season. So like the old tier list or whatever for the Nightmare dungeons are completely irrelevant because they don't even exist anymore for the most part, as far as I know. Increased monster HP scaling just from 85% to 100% per player in your party. This is kind of a nerf when it comes to playing with, unfortunately, playing with bad people. And at the same time, it's definitely a nerf playing in a party. So it's better for the solo people. Uh, for strong people or like meta players, you know what I mean? This is not going to be mattering all that much. Um, but then again, if you think about like the very, very high and hard pushes that the groups are going to be doing, it's obviously going to be having a big effect at that point as well. So, but what I mean is that like if you're farming around your level with like a very strong character and like-minded four people, it's not going to be the biggest difference. I think you're still going to be face rolling and you're going to be generating not only good loot but also good glyph XP in the Nightmare Dungeon, but also good character experience as well. So it's not going to be making the biggest difference when it comes to the same level and like-minded people know what they're doing and with a good character. You know what I mean? But if you're carrying somebody now, carrying is definitely harder. And if you're pushing together now, pushing together is definitely harder as well because they're stacking as much HP as you would have been solo. Adjusted the scaling of the Greed Shrine, the best shrine in the game, has been buffed. World bosses now drop potions more often, easier world bosses, I guess. I think the world bosses should be a little bit buffed, to be honest with you. I don't even like go for the world bosses for the most part, I think. There's no longer a limit on how many materials you can refine into higher materials at once. This is a very good change because I was not like I was not bothering about like basically crafting my leathers into like higher tier leathers because like you were always able to make only 20 at once and like I had to do them 1,000 times or something. I was just never mind this. Many affixes are too efficient and are outshining alternatives. We are looking to refine the outliers, improve the number of meaningful choices on competitive slots, and increase the overall flexibility on items. Guys, crazy nerfs incoming. You can read from here. We know these changes will reduce the total amount of possible power a character can possess, so we'll be monitoring how these changes affect players' ability to conquer expected milestones throughout the season. Ugh. We are increasing availability of the affixes below to make them easier to include different builds. Control impaired duration reduction can now appear on pants. Barrier generation can appear like for all classes. Lucky hit chance, while you have a barrier, can appear for all classes as well, reduced by 12% on the helm and 20% on the offhand or amulets. Master skill damage, newly added, by the way, this is very interesting, can appear on the sorcerer weapons, scales identically to the core damage. This is very, very good, guys, because I would like my Blizzard to be a thing, and this is one of those things. Definitely, I'll probably be checking out some sort of like a Blizzard build. That's what I'm thinking right now, but we'll see. Resistance to elements can now appear on the shields as well, so necromancy buff there. But the thing is, like, I haven't really seen them touching the resistances. I think resistances are still a little bit of a lackluster. I'll also tell you something else, okay? Nobody's talking about this as far as I know. But in Season of the Malignant, we are going to be having 3 sockets to be able to socket our powers into. 2 in the rings and 1 in the amulets. Now think about what is going on outside. There's like a creature outside. The sound is really weird. It's scary, actually. Think about the gems, right? Yo, this is scary. I have no idea what that sound is, honestly. So I was saying, like, think about the gems that we have on like rings and necklace. On every single character, if I'm not mistaken, we're running armor gems. They have not only nerfed the armors overall, but they also, you know, in the Season of the Malignant, we cannot even use the armor gems. So like we're losing like, I don't know, 750 armor for my character or something. You know what I mean? That's going to be really weird. And I think there are like some armor buffs all around as well, somewhere here. Let me see. Um, how do they even write armor in this game? Like this, maybe? Yeah, okay. Total armor reduced from affixes is like 30%, basically, that you can get total armor. And while in Werbear and Werewolf, you're getting like 25% less now. So the affixes on any single item that you can think of, they're going to be giving more offensive affixes, okay? So whatever that you have seen so far, in short, like when it comes to like physical damage, fire damage, you know what I mean, damage with dual wield weapons, etc. Any number that you have seen so far in the game, they're going to be more powerful at any level. Those offensive affixes, they're all stronger, hands down. But the defensive affixes are going to be, also weaker in return. And let's read this. It's very interesting. We have seen that skillful players are frequently slaughtering monsters many levels above them. We want to support this, but the current situation is beyond what we believe is the correct long-term health of the game. To chase this goal, we're shifting power to many offensive affixes from defensive affixes. We know this will make our endgame content more deadly, particularly for the ones chasing our pinnacle boss, an encounter not meant for the faint of heart. Overcoming the pinnacle boss will take every ounce of grit you can muster and all tools at your disposal. We'll continue to evaluate feedback from the community and make changes to our combat mechanics. So this is obviously going to be giving us a more offensive character, especially against easy content. But it's not going to be, it's going to be even more of a paper character. Now, overall, personally, I don't necessarily like this change at all. This is not the approach because some characters are already really weak and they require many buttons to survive, such as Sorcerer. Sorcerer has like a lot of issues in the late game where you're supposed to be running like 3 different buttons on something, like on every single build, to be able to just overcome the content. Now, you have less armor because like you're gonna need to run the Malignant gems. You have less armor or less defenses coming from every single item affix. With the same type of character. So like, good luck. You know what I mean? So these type of changes, what I meant is that it doesn't necessarily impact every character the same way. You know what I mean? So that is why I dislike it a little bit. Apart from that, I do like the fact that like they want to make their characters a little bit more offensive and they want to keep us from like getting too high on the monster levels and maybe make their like very late game, uber bosses much more difficult to overcome, which is understandable, good for the late game. Anyways, it's getting incredibly late for me. It's getting to 2 a.m. and I really want to hit the bed. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Let me know what you think about the patches. I think overall it's a little bit underwhelming, to be honest with you. But after playing it for a little while, especially, I'm very intrigued by like the experience changes that they're trying to do. I dislike what they have done with like the 5 levels below thingy with world tier 3 and 4. I dislike that a lot. And I think, like as I said, these defense changes are pretty weird as well. There are lots of like obviously fixed issues in the game as well, but I didn't necessarily like read through all of them. So what character am I going to be playing in the season, right? I'm still not really sure. One side of me for leveling, I kind of want to go Sorcerer because it's such a blast to like play a Sorcerer while leveling. But yeah, for the late game, I really don't want Sorcerer. I feel like I don't want Barbarian either after checking the patch notes. Then again, though, we'll see. Maybe a rogue. I have no idea. I'll be deciding in the next 2 days, and I'll be like working on a lot of like leveling videos, as I said, and like lots of leveling practice as well with the other stuff. I kind of want to be able to get my characters to level 20, all of the classes, in about like an hour or so. And every single time, like I want to create a new character, I want to be able to like get to level 20 in about 1 hour, if not less. So, and when I'm getting these timers, you're going to be having the VODs on my channel as well. Hopefully they're going to be useful for you. So, I think I'm going to call this right there. What do you think about the patch notes? Let me know in the description, and peace out, guys. Thank you for watching. Cheers.